Well, I mentioned Mark Lee with a special report on two coaches that underwent open heart surgery. In fact, right now, let's go up to the booth. And Mark, why don't you introduce this report?
Thank you, Brian. There are indeed two coaches here today who've been around this game a long time but have a brand new perspective. Wally Buono and Dave Ritchie are men who like to be in control, but this offseason found their lives in the hands of heart surgeons. I went to see them at training camp in Chilliwack, BC earlier this spring and came back with a story of survival, a story of friendship, and a story of a commitment to coaching. Last November, Wally Buono's BC Lions captured the CFL's West Division title in dramatic fashion, in overtime.
The ball is out, down, kicked, and good! The Lions win!
Crowning the winning coach with a Gatorade splash is one of football's long-held traditions. But amid this post-game celebration, Wally Buono wasn't in the mood, or so it seemed. Little did his players know, Buono was worried the icy bath might just give him a heart attack.
That is quite a shock to your system, and you know, I wasn't sure that it would help me or it would hurt me, but I knew it was going to be a shock.
The BC Lions were going to the Grey Cup, but hidden from public view was Wally Buono's closely kept secret. The 55-year-old head coach needed open heart surgery, but had put it off in a bid for the Grey Cup. Only his wife knew of the risk he was taking.
There was a lot of worry and a lot of unknowns and a lot of, you know, fear about what was going on.
Wally Buono's quest for the cup would fall just short, and 2 days later he dropped a bombshell. He would undergo triple bypass surgery in 1 week.
Obviously it's something that he's been dealing with for a long time, and you know, for him to wait until the season's over, you know, that's basically putting his life on the line for the team.
Only 2 months after open heart surgery, Buono was back on the job. One of the first things he did was hire an old friend and coach, Dave Ritchie, himself recovering from quadruple bypass surgery.
When I got off that table and opened up my eyes and saw my wife, I thank God right there that I'm above ground.
I think he wants to be here longer, and I laugh very often and say to him, when I'm 80, I want you to be with me. So I think he is trying very hard to take care of himself more, to watch his weight, and to do all of those things. I think he is trying to change his lifestyle.
Dave Ritchie has been a football coach for 45 years. He won a Grey Cup with BC in 1994. But last year, he was fired as the head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A month later, the 66-year-old headmaster was under the knife.
There's a lot of people that have heart attacks that they don't make it because the only thing I know is the left artery. If that's blocked, I guess they call that the widowmaker. I'm glad I didn't have the widowmaker. God gave me another chance to come out here with Wally, and I know we're going to be successful.
Since Dave's come on in BC, you know, he's living with me till his house is ready. You know, and we talk about our situations. It's quite a comfort.
Life as a head coach in pro football can be stressful. The days are long, the demands high, and the security in this business can be tenuous at best. Wally Buono has established himself as one of the most successful head coaches in CFL history. But even he could not escape the rigors of this profession.
And I used to say to him, if you become a coach, don't become like those other coaches where you let it like consume you. But it consumes you.
You know, you're working 7 days a week, you're working long hours, and there's a lot of, you know, especially if you're the head coach, there's a lot of emotional strain on you because, you know, you're I guess, carrying the burden of the team.
Family has been Buono's respite from the pressures of pro football. He's a spiritual man and a father of 4. For the past 10 years, his daughter Christy has been writing her father inspirational messages before every game.
I thought about something that is tangible that he can reach down when he's really stressed out or when he's concerned, or, you know, that he can just be like, okay, my family's there to back me up.
This season is about quenching that thirst with a sweet taste of victory. New season, new results. No fear. Love, Chris.
I have it in my pocket, you know, and I get it before the game, just before the game, and you know, there's been times when I kind of peeked at it just to, you know, just get that, you know, that confidence or that reassurance.
Stress is one of the key factors in heart disease and a main ingredient in coaching.
They say, Mama, don't let your boys grow up to be cowboys. Maybe you ought to just say, Mama, don't let your boys grow up to be football coaches.
But these men are driven, still recovering, and back on the job 15 hours a day. But after putting their lives in the hands of a surgeon, they have found a new perspective.
I'm still competitive, very much so. Do I want to argue and fight all the time? Nah.
These days, Wally Buono is up and on the road by 6 a.m. He has a new long-term contract with the Lions and a new lease on life.
Before surgery, it's like you're fighting fatigue all the time, right? Pain was a problem. You know, I feel right now, you know, the new life that I've received, I can do this for at least 3 more years.
I think it gave us a little bit of reality, though, because I think we thought that we were going to be together forever.
I really believe that, you know, God spared me because, you know, I think physically I should have died. It's, you know, something that I have. You know, I'm going to deal with it. You know, I'm doing what I believe I can do to help it, and you know, right now it's been good.
My partner Chris Wally was around head coaches for 16 years in the big leagues. What a story. When Dave had his surgery in September, Wally's wife Sandy went to Winnipeg to help Sharon with the recovery. Little did she know that they'd be right back in the same situation in December. These families are very close.
Well, I think that's the big thing when you look back at their history. They've known each other, been friends for over 25 years. Back in '83, matter of fact, with Montreal, they were assistant coaches together, and here they are 22 years later, one a head coach, one a defensive coordinator. But I think more importantly, they can rely on living, because right now, Ritchie is staying with Wally Buono right now, and they talk about some things, and I think it's a great consoling factor. They can identify what each other is going with each other. The wives can lean on each other, and that's very important.
You've seen the pressures firsthand. Your own head coach, Cal Murphy, had a heart transplant back in 1992 and apparently coached the Grey Cup from his hospital bed.
He did that?
What about Jim Daly? He told me 2 weeks ago he thought long and hard about taking the new head job in Winnipeg because he had heart trouble back in 2000.
Well, I think this piece shows you what the stress is involved in being a head coach or a coach in any league for that matter. And the biggest thing right now is you understand the time constraint and the pressures it puts on not only your professional relationships with players you may develop friendships with, but your personal developments. I mean, you say, I've got coaches who have slept in the office overnight, haven't seen their family for 3 to 4 days, and then they got to go back and try and get it all back together. The object is to win. But you see, both these men still got the fire, still got the competition, and more importantly, still got the love of the game.
It's a remarkable story as Wally and Dave recover together and set course for the Grey Cup in Vancouver, Brian.
It is a remarkable story. You talk about still having the fire, Chris Walby. During that item, Dave Ritchie walked over here and made like he was punching out Darren Flutie and Greg Frères, but he's smiling and he says, I'm a lot more relaxed, although you wouldn't know it looking at him here, but believe me, he is. We'll take a break.